The morning my mother died, my daughter hugged me and whispered, "Grandma wanted everything to stay in the family." I believed her. That was my first mistake. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a lawyer's office while my daughter explained that my mother had changed her will shortly before she died. According to my daughter, Grandma had left almost everything to her: the house, the savings, the jewelry, even the small piece of farmland my mother had spent her entire life protecting. I stared at my daughter across the desk. Why didn't Mom tell me? My daughter lowered her eyes. She was afraid you would be angry. I wanted to believe that too. Then the lawyer opened an old brown folder. He looked at my daughter, then he looked at me, and quietly said, "I have a copy of your mother's original will." My daughter's face changed instantly, and that was the moment I realized someone had been lying to me. Chapter 1. My Mother's Last Days. My name is Margaret. I was 63 years old when my mother passed away. Her name was Eleanor. She was 87. For most of my life, my mother had been the strongest person I knew. She raised me alone after my father died. She worked 2 jobs. She never complained, and she taught me something I never forgot. Family isn't about who gets the most, she used to say. Family is about making sure nobody is left with nothing. Those words stayed with me, especially after she became sick. During the last year of her life, I visited her almost every day. Sometimes I cooked for her. Sometimes I helped with her medication. Sometimes we simply sat together and watched old television shows. She knew she was getting weaker. One evening, while we were sitting near the kitchen window, she reached across the table and held my hand. "Margaret," she said. "Yes, Mom." "If something happens to me," she stopped. I smiled. "Mom, don't talk like that." She squeezed my hand. "Listen to me." Her voice was unusually serious. "I've already taken care of everything." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "My papers, the house, the accounts." "You don't have to worry about any of that." "I know," she smiled, "but I want you to know that everything is written down." I didn't ask for details. I trusted her. That was who my mother was. She didn't make promises casually, and she didn't change her mind every week. At least, that's what I believed. Chapter 2. My daughter. I have one daughter. Her name is Emily. When Emily was little, she was the center of my world. I raised her after her father left. I worked overtime so she could go to college. I helped pay her rent when she struggled. When she got married, I gave her the small amount of money I had saved for retirement. I never regretted it, because she was my daughter. But over the years, Emily changed. She became obsessed with money. Not because she was evil, at least that's what I told myself. She had debts, credit cards, a mortgage, a business that wasn't doing well, and a husband who constantly pushed her to get ahead. Whenever she visited my mother, she always seemed interested in the same things. How much is this house worth? Does Grandma still own that land? Who manages her bank account? At first, I ignored it. Then my mother noticed. One afternoon after Emily left, Mom looked at me. "She asks too many questions." I laughed. "She worries about money." Mom didn't laugh. "Be careful, Margaret." That was all she said. I didn't understand what she meant. I wish I had. Chapter 3. The Funeral. My mother died peacefully. She was asleep. I was holding her hand. There was no dramatic goodbye, no final speech, just silence. And somehow that made it harder. At the funeral, Emily stood beside me. She cried. She held my hand. And she kept saying, "Grandma loved us. She wanted us to be okay." I believed every word. After the funeral, Emily hugged me. "Mom, don't worry about anything." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I'll handle the estate." I frowned. "You don't have to." "I know." "But you're grieving." I was, so I let her. That was my second mistake. 3 weeks later, Emily asked me to meet her at a lawyer's office. I thought it was simply paperwork. I walked into the office expecting a few signatures. Instead, I saw Emily sitting across from a lawyer named Daniel Harris. There was a thick folder on the desk. Emily smiled nervously. "Mom, there's something you need to know." I sat down. "What happened?" She took a breath. "Grandma changed her will." I stared at her. "What?" "She changed it before she died." "When?" "A few months ago." I shook my head. "That doesn't sound right." Emily's expression tightened. "Why?" "Because your grandmother told me she had already taken care of everything." "She did. So what changed?" Emily looked at the lawyer. The lawyer didn't answer. Finally, Emily said, "Grandma left the house to me." I couldn't speak. The room suddenly felt smaller. "The house?" "Yes." And the savings. She hesitated. Most of them. I looked at the lawyer. Did my mother sign this? Yes. Was she mentally competent? The lawyer paused. She was assessed as competent. I looked at Emily. She wouldn't look at me. I asked, why didn't she tell me? Emily whispered, she didn't want you to be hurt. That sentence broke something inside me. Not because I was losing a house, because my mother had supposedly changed her mind about me and never told me.
I went home that night and opened my mother's old drawer. Inside were photographs, birth certificates, insurance documents, birthday cards, and a handwritten note she had given me only months earlier. I unfolded it. There were only 3 sentences. Margaret, everything I own has already been arranged. Don't let anyone pressure you after I'm gone. Trust yourself. I read it 3 times. Why would she write that? If she had really changed her will, why would she tell me not to let anyone pressure me? I called Emily. She answered immediately. Mom, did Grandma ever tell you she was changing her will? Silence. Then, no. Did you know about it? Another silence. Mom, I told you, she didn't want you to be upset. How did you find out? I was helping her with paperwork. My stomach tightened. What paperwork? I don't remember. You don't remember? Mom, I'm tired. Can we talk tomorrow? She hung up. I stared at the phone. For the first time since my mother's death, I became suspicious of my own daughter. The next morning, I went through my mother's filing cabinet. I wasn't looking for money. I wasn't looking for property. I was looking for answers. At the bottom of a drawer beneath old tax documents, I found an envelope. My mother's handwriting was on the front. For Margaret, if needed. My hands started shaking. Inside was a photocopy, a legal document, a will. I read it slowly. The house was not left to Emily.
The house was left to me. The savings were divided between me and a local charity my mother had supported for years. The farmland was to remain in the family unless I voluntarily sold it. And there was one sentence that stopped me completely. My daughter Margaret is to have control of the estate and may distribute assets among family members at her discretion. I sat on the floor. This wasn't what Emily had shown me. This was completely different. But then I noticed something else. The document was dated, and it was signed months before the alleged new will. I needed to know which document was real. So I called the lawyer, Daniel Harris, the same lawyer who had been sitting with Emily. He agreed to see me privately. When I walked into Daniel's office, he looked surprised. Margaret, I found something. I placed the copy on his desk. He looked at it. His expression changed. Where did you get this? My mother's house. He picked up the document carefully. Then he opened his filing cabinet. He removed a large brown folder. My heart started beating faster. He placed another document on the desk. This, he said, is the will your daughter showed us. I looked at it. The signatures appeared genuine. The date was recent, and according to this document, my mother had left almost everything to Emily. Then Daniel opened another folder. But this is what I have in my records. He placed an older copy beside it. It was identical to the document I had found at my mother's house, my mother's original instructions, the document leaving the house to me. I looked at him. Which one is valid? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said, that is exactly what we need to determine. Then he pointed to the newer document. There are problems. What kind of problems? The witnesses. I leaned forward. One witness was your daughter's former business partner. My stomach dropped. And the second? Daniel looked at me. The second witness signed several documents for your daughter around the same time. I whispered, are you saying my daughter arranged this? No. He was careful. I am saying we cannot assume the newer will is valid simply because it exists.
Daniel asked me something unexpected. Did your mother ever tell you she was worried about Emily? I hesitated. Yes. What did she say? I told him. He nodded slowly. Then he pulled another piece of paper from the file. This is a note your mother left with her estate documents. I read it. My mother's handwriting. Margaret, if anyone tells you I changed my wishes suddenly, ask why. I have already spoken to Daniel. Do not sign anything under pressure. My eyes filled with tears. My mother had known. She had anticipated this, and she had tried to protect me. Then Daniel told me something that I wasn't prepared for. Your mother met with me privately 6 weeks before her death. Why? She was concerned someone might try to influence her estate. Did she name Emily? He looked at me. She didn't have to. The investigation took several weeks. Bank records were reviewed. Medical records were requested. The witnesses were questioned. And eventually, one detail changed everything. The newer will had been prepared during a period when my mother was heavily medicated. That didn't automatically invalidate it, but there was more. The lawyer who prepared the newer document had not been Daniel. It was another attorney, and that attorney had been contacted using a phone number belonging to Emily. Then came the bank records. A large payment had been transferred from my mother's account to an account connected to Emily's business. Emily claimed it was a loan.
But there was no signed loan agreement, no repayment schedule, nothing. Then the witness who had originally supported Emily's version of events changed her statement. She admitted that Emily had asked her to sign the document. She also admitted that she had never actually watched my mother sign it. That was enough to make the entire case collapse. Emily came to my house one evening. She was furious. "You're taking me to court?" I looked at her. "No." "Then why are you doing this?" "I'm trying to find out what happened." She laughed bitterly. "You always believed Grandma loved you more." "That isn't true. She gave you everything." "No," I shook my head. "She gave me something more important than money." Emily stared at me. "What?" "The truth." Her face became pale. I continued. "You didn't just try to take the house. You tried to make me believe my own mother stopped trusting me." She began crying. I was desperate. I said nothing. I was going to lose my business. Still nothing. I thought Grandma would have wanted me to have the house. I looked at her. "Then why didn't you simply ask her?" She couldn't answer. That silence told me everything. The legal process took months. Eventually, the newer will was challenged. The court examined the evidence, the witnesses, the signatures, the medical records, the financial transfers, and my mother's earlier instructions. In the end, the newer will was rejected. My mother's earlier will remained the controlling document. The house came to me. The farmland stayed protected. The charity received the amount my mother had intended, and Emily received only what the original document allowed. But winning didn't feel like winning, because I had lost something that money couldn't replace: trust. Several months later, I was cleaning out my mother's bedroom. I found one final envelope. My name was written on it. I opened it. Inside was a letter. My mother had written it shortly before she died. It said, "Margaret, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. There is something I want you to remember. People may fight over what you leave behind. They may fight over houses, money, jewelry, land. But none of those things are truly yours forever. You only borrow them. What belongs to you is the way you treated people while you had them. I know you love Emily. Don't let what happened destroy your heart. But loving someone does not mean allowing them to hurt you. Forgive when you can. Trust carefully. And never confuse family with entitlement. Your mother." I cried harder than I had cried at her funeral, because finally I understood. My mother hadn't been trying to give me a house. She had been trying to teach me how to protect myself without becoming bitter. Today, I still live in my mother's house. I kept the old kitchen table, the one where she used to drink coffee every morning. I kept her photographs, her recipe book, her garden. But I changed the locks. Not because I hate my daughter. I don't. Emily and I still speak. Our relationship will probably never be what it once was. Some wounds don't disappear just because the court makes a decision. But I learned something. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the person you taught to walk, the person you sacrificed for, the person you believed would protect you when you were old. And when that happens, you have two choices. You can let their betrayal turn you into someone you don't recognize, or you can stand up, protect yourself, and walk away with your dignity. My mother left me a house, but the greatest thing she left me was the courage to stop believing every person who called themselves family. And that old brown folder in the lawyer's office, that folder didn't just save my mother's estate. It saved me from spending the rest of my life wondering whether my own mother had secretly stopped loving me. She hadn't. She had protected me, even after she was gone. And sometimes, that's the greatest inheritance a mother can leave her daughter. If this story touched you, remember, love should never require you to surrender your dignity.
Subscribe for more emotional family stories, unexpected twists, and powerful life lessons.